of different comments I've got on, I guess, Facebook and Project Sax on YouTube, and I just want to address some of them. First, I want to discuss, calmly discuss, what's been going on with my Kenny G video, my first episode of Project Sax, and it was really really popular. You know, for it to be my first episode, and like I believe like after the first 3 weeks, I had like maybe 100 to 250 views, and I was like, wow, that was bigger than I expected. Some other stuff got kind of stale, but I got some highlight videos for this to be only like what 4 months of me being on YouTube. So, I'm gonna find some ways to get more views. But I get comments too, and these comments are wonderful. You guys, some of these comments just, make me feel like this is exactly what I need to do. So, I'm gonna keep Project Sax going. This has been wonderful. I've gotten gifts, and I haven't even been on there yet, and I've gotten a gift from one of my favorite jazz artists, and that was just amazing to me. Yeah, Jesse J, you're a wonderful artist. But I just want to make a comment towards something that I've been recently addressing about my Kenny G episode, and basically what's been going on is when people see the episode, they're like, oh, you hate Kenny G, oh, he's this worrisome person, or who are you to talk, who are you to bash Kenny G, and then they'll try to poke on my skills and say, well, you're not as skilled as Kenny G, kids have been doing this longer than you have. I'm not that old. I honestly know that Kenny G is way more experienced than I am, and I know this for a fact. What really set me off was not that his music was bad. It was never about his talent. Nothing that if I said something to make you think that I was going or bashing on his talent, I wasn't talking about that really. I wasn't trying to focus on that in the video. I think Kenny G is phenomenal on the saxophone. Kenny G is a wonderful saxophone player. It's just the style of music that he plays, it just lingers to this kind of fantasy that I'm not so much used to. And then this is pretty much all I was trying to say. His music is good. His licks are good. His practice ethic is good. He said he practiced 2 hours a day at least. Now, what people might think I'm trying to say is, oh, he's a terrible saxophone player. He sucks. No, I don't think he's a bad saxophone player. I think the way he looks on new musicians is misguided. Because when you see Kenny G on anything, if you see Kenny G on a poster, if you see Kenny G on an album cover, if you see Kenny G anywhere on TV or anything like that, if anybody knows anything about jazz or any little thing about jazz, the first person they think about is Kenny G. And that's just a product of this time. It's not that Kenny G promotes jazz. It's just that when you see Kenny G, most people think jazz, because when they spread the word about smooth jazz, they think Kenny G, because I'm pretty sure he's had more than a couple of smooth jazz number ones, and so it's not that he says, oh, I'm promoting jazz. Kenny G, when you see Kenny G with a saxophone, it's automatically promoting jazz because that's what people think of him. When you see him on an interview, if you ever see him on an interview, I want you to look at like 5 videos. For the people who disagree with me, I want you to look at like 5 videos that are interviews about him and his life, and then they're going to talk about him being a jazz musician. They're not going to be necessarily talk about him being a classical musician. They're not going to be talking about him being a rock musician or pop influenced musician, or somebody who can rock on the saxophone like Dave Sanborn. They're going to be talking about him as a smooth jazz musician, and think about it. Anybody who's ever seen a saxophone out of context, that you don't play saxophone, and you just see it out of context when nobody's holding, nobody's playing it, how do you feel about it? What do you think about it? Do you think, oh, well, they're going to be playing rock if you see a saxophone? Maybe a tenor saxophone on a good day, you might think rock. But other than that, you don't think rock when you see saxophone. So you think jazz. Anybody holding a saxophone and can even solo, even if you see a saxophone, you think jazz because saxophones promote jazz. As a matter of fact, if I'm not mistaken, jazz is what really gave the saxophone its spotlight. Many people back in the day when saxophone first came out, the saxophone was known as an instrument or a music making horn, because they didn't really want to see it as an instrument because it was so rich and it promoted seductive themes and stuff like that. People didn't think that the saxophone was so much of a classy instrument. It was too, I guess, sex oriented is what they thought, when it first came out, and it didn't really get a spotlight until people started picking it up and putting it in jazz songs. And then people start saying, it's still even today seen as a seductive instrument, but it still has a place in the band. It has a better place in the band. And I know when the creator of the saxophone, when he created it, he wanted it to be a bridge between the gap of a brass instrument and a woodwind instrument, because the woodwind instruments were getting overcrowded by the brass instruments. When you have, back in those times, in the late and mid 1800s, when the saxophone had first came out, it was made to bridge the gap. It was a hybrid instrument of sorts. It wasn't something that you always play with the clarinets. You could play it with the trombones, and you could play it with, you could play it. It could rock with all the instruments. It could be the bridge to the gap. It could be the voice of the woodwind section in a way. It could help balance the woodwinds and the brass at the same time. It was kind of like, it's like a brass instrument. It's like a trumpet. But it's also a woodwind. It's a woodwind reed blowing instrument. And I know people who don't play the saxophone might not even think about that. Even some people who do play the saxophone don't even think about why it was made. But I do think about the saxophone and why it was made. And the reason I say all of this is because if it wasn't for jazz, the saxophone wouldn't even have a spotlight. So you can't say that Kenny G doesn't promote jazz, because he's always holding a saxophone in his hand. Like I said, he's always practicing it. Even I promote jazz, and I don't even go around saying, oh, we'll take this jazz flyer. I don't go around saying, oh, we'll go to this jazz concert. Only my friends I tell do that, and seldom, they don't even go to jazz concerts like that. I'm here to try to get jazz out to the masses. So yeah, I do promote jazz, but it's not like I walk around promoting it. When I pick up my saxophone, I'm promoting jazz. But the thing is, it's like I'm not trying to promote it. It just happens because I have a saxophone in my hand. And when I'm trying to, it feels like I'm over trying to do it because I already have a saxophone in my hand and I'm trying to promote jazz with my words. So when Kenny G plays his instrument, now you can always find a good solo out of Kenny G. Matter of fact, one of my favorite solos was from a song, I forget the name, but he was soloing with and collaborating with Babyface. If anybody knows that, he's an R&B singer, male singer, and I think I believe that it was like every time I close my eyes. I think that was like a lyric in the song. I'm pretty sure everybody can piece together what song I'm talking about. But Kenny G comes in with a soprano solo, and I didn't have a soprano, and I was like, well, I'm just gonna learn the solo anyway. And I came kind of close to doing it correctly, and that was actually one of my stepping stones for being a better saxophone player than I was. I mean, you can say that I'm not a good musician. You can say that I have a long way to go, but I've collaborated with some of the best musicians, that I know, and not only that I know, that are world-renowned musicians. So you can say I have a long way to go, and I agree with you, and I'm not going to say that name. So when I say you know who I'm talking about, my loyal viewers. But it's just, you gotta, I understand that I need time to take out to practice my instrument and get better on my horn. I understand that. I'm humble. I'm actually a pretty humble musician. And people think of me when I made that video as a big-headed musician, or somebody who say, oh, well, you think you're better than Kenny G. Nobody's better than Kenny G, or Kenny G's one of the best. Well, this is my opinion on the best saxophone player in the world. There is no best saxophone player, in my opinion. Every saxophone player has a different thing to say. Nothing that a saxophone player could say can be better than another thing. You know, they could be more appealing at the time, but no one can be better than, you know, somebody else. And the reason I say that is because when you get up on that stage and you do a solo, it's all about what you do in that moment in time. And it could change at any moment in time. It could be pretty good, it could be terrible in your opinion, and it could be the best thing you've ever played. But to the people out there, all you're trying to do is convey a message. You're not. Some of the best saxophone players don't think of themselves as the best saxophone player, and that's why I feel the same way. I don't feel as though I'm the best saxophone player. I don't even think I'm good. I just like playing my instrument. That's all I like doing, and I like to relate to people. You know, I like to make people happy when I'm on stage. If I can make somebody feel, oh, he played that. That's nice. And if I can make somebody say, oh, well, that sounded like Kenny G, or that sounded like this, and that sounded like, I'm happy. I mean, I don't take Kenny G's name bad. It's just that when Kenny G disdains the younger artists from coming up and trying to be saxophone players, or trying to get in the smooth jazz genre, or trying to get in any type of genre of music playing the saxophone, and he kind of, in a way, he kind of pushed down on us. But it's just kind of like, I want to relate to other people, and if they want to group me in the smooth jazz genre, or the pop genre, or the traditional jazz genre, or whatever they want to do, it's fine with me. I just want to play my saxophone. That's all I want to do. And it's not to bash on anybody. It's not to call you out. It's not to make you get mad. It's nothing of the sort. It's nothing of the sort. It's just me playing my saxophone. And when I make that video, that's me in confusion. Because as a matter of fact, I was a bigger Kenny G fan. I'm still, I can pick up an album or two and listen to it, not for long, because it kind of fits the same mold and style of a romance, romantic, love making music all the time. But it's kind of like, I don't hate Kenny G. I never did. It's just that I just, kind of thought he felt a different way about the artists that are coming up. That's all. That is all. Now, moving on. That's pretty much it for this episode. I just want you guys to, reflect on what's been going on this year, Project Sax. This was just, just some things we have to deal with. People, want to put Kenny G at this pedestal, and I will put Kenny G at that pedestal, but you can't push on the people who are trying to get on the same pedestal, or be where you are, or not necessarily be you, because Sonny Rollins said you can never be like your artist, your idol. You can never be like them. We don't want to be like you. We want to represent the same thing you're representing, and that's making people happy through our music. I'm Devin, and what you should, I guess, wait for on Project Sax, or look for on Project Sax, is the lessons. They're coming up. Again, I want to shout out to EJ. He's a loyal saxophone, Project Sax viewer, and I just want to give him a shout out once again. I'll give a full shout out to him later, but just want to shout out to him. I hope he's doing good. I hope he had a happy New Year's and New Year's Eve, or have, depending on when you see this video. And yeah, that's pretty much it, guys. Look for these lessons, and I'm Devin. I'm signing off once again, and to all those people who are naysayers to the Kenny G video or any other video, it's just my opinion. I don't hate Kenny G. I don't think I'm better than him, and don't try to put words in my mouth saying, oh, you think you're better than him, or you think you're this and that and the other. I am a humble musician. At any point in time, I can put down a saxophone, and you will be getting stressed up and bubbled up over nothing because I'm not gonna let it affect me. But as a Project Sax host, as the Project Sax host, I feel as though it's my opinion to say something about it and not just typing on the keyboard because anybody can do that. All right.